what is a run-on sentence and how do I avoid it? Now, when we think of a run-on sentence, often we think of a super duper long sentence that's going on and on and on, and it feels like we're exhausted by reading it. And that could be, but the basic idea of a run-on sentence is a sentence which should have ended or doesn't have the right punctuation to separate it according to grammatical rules. Basically, it's when you have two complete sentences and they're put together in one sentence with no punctuation marks and nothing else. But that's not right. That's a run-on sentence. Okay, so let's just look at a quick example so that we know what we're talking about. That's the best way to do this. My boss is going on a trip. He will be away for 3 weeks. Now look, we have two complete sentences. Actually, my boss is going on a trip. Doop, that's a sentence. He will be away for 3 weeks. Doop, that's a sentence. We could also call these, though, independent clauses. Now, don't worry too much about what that means, but basically an independent clause is something, a piece of grammar, which can be a sentence by itself. Okay, and if we have two of those side by side, and we just stick them together, we have, voila, a run-on sentence. So then you might say, okay, well, just put a comma between them. No, also not right. My boss is going on a trip, comma, he will be away for 3 weeks, is also incorrect. Why is it incorrect? Again, a comma doesn't separate usually two independent clauses, two sentences, basically, two sentences that are by themselves sentences. We don't just put them back to back like that. Okay, that's a kind of run-on sentence. We can call it a comma splice. Okay, don't worry about the names too much. All right, so that's the idea. So what's the right way to handle this? Well, there are a few things that we can do. But basically, as an overview, we need to either change how we write the whole thing, rewrite it, so that the grammar of the whole thing is different, so that we can say all that information in a different structure, or we need to work on our punctuation a bit and choose some different punctuation. Now, the easiest way to fix this is just to take a period and boink, put it at the end of the first one. So we have two sentences, right? And the two sentences would look something like, my boss is going on a trip. He will be away for 3 weeks. Two sentences. Now, this is fine, but if we do this too much, it starts to feel boring because these sentences have very similar grammar, right? And so sometimes we'll want to say this in a slightly more interesting way, and we won't just want to put a period between them. Now, one thing we could do is use what's called a conjunction. And, but, or, nor, these are called conjunctions. Again, don't worry too much about the names, guys. It's called a conjunction. So there you have your comma still, yes, but then you have but or and. My boss is going on a trip, comma, but he should be back in 3 weeks. When someone has asked me when he's going to be back, right? Or someone has asked me what's going on with the boss. We could have and here. My boss is going on a trip, comma, and he should be back in a few weeks. That would be fine. So all we do when we have these two independent clauses, these two separate sentences, these things that can stand by themselves as sentences, is we add a conjunction, and, but, or, nor, and a comma. Or we make them two separate sentences. What we can't do is just have, we can't just have the comma. We need something else, all right? So that's the basic idea. Now, there are better ways to deal with this. We haven't come across yet the best solution. So that's what we need to talk about, because I have a better solution. Okay, my solution would be number 2 here. My boss is going on a 3-week trip. Voila. Look at this beautiful sentence, okay? Instead of saying he will be back in 3 weeks and building all of the grammar around one simple piece of information, why don't we just take 3 weeks and make it into a simple adjective, a 3-week trip? Because, and this is my view and a common view about writing, If you have to make a whole sentence to say one tiny piece of information, you have failed as a writer. You've failed as a writer. Now, once in a while, it's very good to do that because we have something called context. Not context, syntax. Syntax. And we want to have different sentence structures to make our writing interesting, right? But if we do it too much, it's a problem. So often when I see these simple sentences, we put all of this grammar around one very basic idea, 3 weeks. I say, why don't we just make that one adjective, right? Obviously. So that's what we should do there. My boss is going on a 3-week trip is, I think, the best way to say this. But there are alternatives here. Instead of using a comma, we could use what's called a semicolon. My boss is going on a trip. He will be back in 3 weeks. That's correct. That's fine. You can use a semicolon when you want to not use a conjunction. A great way to think of a semicolon, that mark there, is exactly the same as a comma and a conjunction. Comma, conjunction. Take out the comma and the conjunction, put in a semicolon. Problem solved. You don't want to use that too much, though, honestly. If you do that too much, I think it's a bit of a problem. Once in a while is okay. Once in a while. Now, the last one. My boss will be back from his trip in 3 weeks. Now, that's not bad, right? My boss will be back from his trip in 3 weeks. So there we just add a little bit of grammar from his trips. Add a little bit of grandma. You can add some grandma, too, if you want. Add some grandma, add some grammar, put them both together. Why not? So we can just change the structure of the sentence, and all of those are correct. Okay? That's the idea. So, again, we want to avoid the run-on sentence. The run-on sentence is just when we put two independent clauses together with nothing between them. We can't just fix that with a comma. We have to fix it in other ways. We have to redo the sentence, change the grammar, or use a semicolon, or use a comma and a conjunction. That's it. All right? So that's how we fix it. That's how we can improve our syntax. Syntax is very, very important in English writing. Smash the like button if you enjoy these videos, enjoy these live streams, and don't forget to subscribe and check out my courses in the links in the description. Description. Yeah. All right.